I don't get into the centre of town that much, so someone else from Christchurch may want to reconfirm my suspicions that there's currently a sudden influx of pink-haired, poorly dressed, keffiyeh-wearing, bearded miscreants traipsing the town in their sandals. Well, at least more than usual. That over the last week, there's been a sudden urge in the Garden City from members of the public to tell random middle-aged women, electrolysis will get rid of that 5 o'clock shadow. Have a sudden ghastly thought. Have home-knitted jerseys become fashionable? Most of us normal people, you and me, that left school in our late teens and are not still there in our late 50s, probably wouldn't have had a clue that the annual New Zealand Post-Primary Teachers Association conference was going on in Christchurch this week, other than the possible overall increase to the average BMI in the centre of town, had it not been for these headlines.
Trump boys in New Zealand classroom. Teachers warn of rising student extremism. Inhumanity in classrooms.
Most New Zealanders, particularly parents, would have thought teachers would have had more pressing issues to deal with in education. Say, the long-term decline across the board in standards, meaning, for example, only 1 in 3 average 15-year-olds in this country can pass a writing test, 1 in 2 maths, and 2 in 3 English. A dumbed-down education system to the point New Zealand is now ranked below Latvia. Reward mediocrity to the point 80% of NCEA students leave with level 2 qualification. Most reasonable people would have thought this issue alone would have been enough to address, only it wasn't even on the agenda of the Teachers' Union. Instead, the overall riding theme of their conference was
decolonising Aotearoa education,
which, taken to its logical Pol Pot conclusion, would mean getting rid of the written language altogether, maths as well. Another topic that concerns a lot of the public, including myself, just not the teacher's profession, is the disturbing number of instances of teachers grooming their students. Failing any of these topics to register or perk some interest to teachers as being important to the public at large, may I now be as bold as to suggest the rigours of plus-size teaching in New Zealand? ? Now back to the keynote headline-grabbing speech.
Responding to extremism in the classroom, online lies and real harm.
What, pray tell, encapsulates this fictional world of misogyny and far-right extremism, driving vulnerable teenage boys away from a gender of pansexuality and a life of mediocrity? For example, leaving school and becoming a sad, permanently malcontent teacher. It's down to the same online tropes, starting with Jordan Peterson. Let's reacquaint ourselves 2 ticks with the Canadian psychologist. Probably examining his global best-selling Tom is a good start. In 12 Rules, Peterson advocates, quick viewer discretion warning at this point, some of the more emotionally fragile viewers, teachers in particular, may want to sit down or take doctor's advice before hearing about learning to be a good listener, focus on a higher purpose, not instant gratification, and oh my giddy aunt, fix your posture and tidy your room. This is virtually Mein Kampf of our generation. We need to protect vulnerable minds from this sort of stuff. But it gets worse. Peterson champions and dedicates a whole chapter, no less, to, wait for it, petting a cat on the street when you encounter one. If anything oozes toxic masculinity, a gateway to rising extremism, it's patting the neighbour's cat. There was, of course, an attack by the teachers at the conference on Trump and, predictably, if not tackily, the still warm corpse of Charlie Kirk. You can beat your boots. Everyone attending the New Zealand Post-Primary Teachers Association conference would gladly push Kirk's grieving wife and 2 children aside to dance on Kirk's grave. But what exactly are Kirk and Trump's crimes that this far-right, meaningless term, cabal, prescribes getting a susceptible young generation of New Zealanders into? Again, at this juncture, teachers and pinkos may want to have a calming chamomile tea, stick their fingers in their ears and hum the Internationale. As I detail, horror of horrors, they are advocating for traditional relationships, directing teens to wait and get married and not shacked up or knocked up, having a loving relationship, caring for children. This is what a true headline, a true newspaper headline, should have said. What's more, the Teachers' Union have even highlighted a pejorative to describe anyone who advocates for these conservative values. That's the same values held by most of their clients, i.e. parents that pay their wages. That term is trads. When you next roll up to your school teacher meet and greet, get introduced to the teacher in a social setting before excusing yourself to go to the bathroom for the entirety of the function, remember, if you fit the model of a conservative nuclear household, you are a trad, spreading trad values which don't belong in New Zealand schools. Next evildoer, a more obvious target one thinks, another toxic role model for our boys, a provocateur by the name of Andrew Tate. From the looks, he and his brother are currently in a tad of bother via their webcam business. But anyway, Tate, I've only had a real bit of a passing knowledge about him till now. I had put him in the same category, or a category of financial David Goggins for under 30s. So to get a grasp of what is being expounded by the older Tate of the 2 brothers, I looked at the content produced by this king of the manosphere here on YouTube to see why the Teachers' Union is demanding millions need spending on in the form of counsellors to drum as content out of the mind of our lads and deprogramming Kiwi boys from this evil kickboxing polemicist. Who, by the way, has a black chess grandmaster father. Evidently, though, inclusiveness only includes those who think like you. Yet again, be shocked to the core people, lie down as necessary with titles like these. Cue a scene from the opening of a concentration camp in 1945. It's that disturbing. Let's back the cab up 2 secs and take time for a reality check. Time for us to undertake 2 simple thought experiments. 1. You want to give your teenage son some guidance, knowing it's useless trying to limit his time and access to the internet. You want to push him towards a more positive line of thinking with what he watches online, solidify him, push him down the right path, whilst at the same time thinking back at your youth. Now ask yourself, which of the following 2 videos do you think a 16-year-old Kiwi lad would take inspiration from? A. Andrew Tate. B, or perhaps the alpha in the teaching profession of New Zealand, the head of the PPTA, none other than Chris Abercrombie, He's the one to the left of the photo. His dress was getting dry cleaned at the time the photo was taken.
PPTA branches who've passed a resolution against charter conversion. Part 2.
I know, it must be really touch and go picking between those two role models. Let's now go through those options again briefly. Abercrombie, Tate. Abercrombie, Tate. Now to the second thought experiment. Do you want your son to have ambitions to chase the glitzy lifestyle, be rich and famous like Andrew Tate? B, or become a state high school art teacher, like say the author of the paper in question, Paul, I hope the wind doesn't blow too hard today,
Stevens.
It's a hard one, I know. Andrew Tate, Paul Stevens. It must be a real ordeal, a bedazzling exercise for a young man and young woman deciding which trajectory to take. Let's do a similar thought exercise for schoolgirls going through a similar youthful conundrum. Peak New Zealand womanhood, PPTA style. Alternatively, style yourself on Charlie Kirk's wife. Set a trajectory in life to become a PPTA alpha female. Settle down and have kids and a great marriage like Jordan Peterson's stunning daughter. Slipping into a designer gown in your mid-50s. Be modelling a two-man tent at the same age. Our Kiwi girls face the same daunting decisions as to what to watch on social media. These New Zealand female trads are purportedly part of the problem of what would lead society falling off the abyss of mum, dad, 2 kids and a dog. XX also need re-education, North Korean style. Not say more important things like, say, class attendance, irrelevancies like scholastic achievement. There are far more pressing concerns for the PPTA and Stevens, rather than the truly frightening prospect that in 2025 there are still girls in their classes who want to settle down, remain monogamous, nurture a family, the very thought of which is an outright odious and repugnant aspiration to the leadership of New Zealand teachers, who now want the taxpayer to throw precious resources, the very ones they complain they never have enough of, expunging such thoughts, whilst in the same breath having the audacity to ask for more money in terms of a pay packet whilst holding out a C- report card. As I wrap this up, warning, this next bit is disturbing to you low-life trads, explains concisely why New Zealand education outcomes are going down the drain rapidly measured against other OECD countries, and can be easily and succinctly encapsulated in a few contrasting photos. First up,
The bad people.
what they stand for, and anyone who has the audacity to want to sit in a classroom who thinks like these folk, wants to live their lifestyle, agrees in a round way with their politics, has a fleeting 5-minute dream one night about them, should be sent to counselling, disciplined, excommunicated out of the system if the teachers' union overstretch gets its way, stare back at everything that is bad in the world, the lamentable, more bad people our children need protection from, and now, in an Orwellian doublethink, the good guys. For your viewing pleasure, this is everything that's good, enlightened and progressive in the world, Aspirational, needs our support and nourishment. These are all members of the Teachers Union. No, I didn't drum it up on AI. This is a real photo of educators of the youth of New Zealand. Not, for all intents and purposes, appears to be a cross-dressing Halloween party with the theme Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. No, don't bother asking. Stevens isn't pictured here, by the way, but he is a you-know-what. Frankly, looking at that photo, there's way too many white people depicted here for my liking. I'd like to see more chocolate-skinned folk like the Tate brothers. So there's work to do there, teachers of Aotearoa. Lastly, focus on this photo as I end with a quote from Trump's recent speech at the UN.
Your country is going to hell.
Ain't that so true? Bye for now. Sorry, I don't do lisps.